last Friday on the show, I was talking we were interviewing Madeline Peltz, and I was talking about how I was surprised by the relative lack of claims of voter fraud coming out of this election, especially considering everything that's happened in the past couple of years. And I still stand by that mostly, but there is an area where now that sort of faux concern is coalescing, and you can see it in this race. So the Arizona governor's race still hasn't been decided. Right now, Katie Hobbs, as of the last count, was up by something like 27,000 votes. There's still a good percentage to come in. The vote could very much go either way. But there are people who are worried about this, and it's clear from the social media activity. I mean, Donald Trump is on Truth Social talking about Kari Lake's easy election win being slowly, systematically drained away from her. He blames mail-in ballots, long election counts, many-day elections. Remember, the Republicans passed the law to make it so you couldn't start counting those mail-in ballots early. They created this situation so they could whine about it, and they're mid-whine. Machines that very few people understand. I love when he just admits that he doesn't understand stuff. Massive counting centers. Why would it be better if they're small? Would that make it faster? I don't understand. Anyway, he's saying he believes it's being stolen. On Fox and Friends, you have Pete Hegseth saying you're watching a threat to democracy in Arizona. Sean Hannity saying that votes have magically appeared in Arizona, and Kari Lake has almost not stopped talking about how it's being stolen for a solid week now. Again, bear in mind, it's very, very close, and she might well end up winning this race. But a lot of that attention about like stop the steal and all that stuff has now flown into this one race. They see her as very important to that wing of the party in the future. So they're not bringing evidence. That's never stopped them in the past, Dan. I'm sure Dinesh D'Souza is going to make a whole movie out of what's going on in Arizona. But what do you think about this? Do you have any prediction about how that race is going to go? And should we be worried about actual like attacks or anything like that?
Three things. One, John Iadarola, after the election night we had, I'm out of the predictions game for like a couple months. I'm retired. That ship has sailed. I am not going to be doing that, especially in races that are this close. Point number two, I guess I'll make the serious point in that I've been warning on the show previously and a lot before and for a long time on a lot of different outlets that we need to be concerned about election denialism, especially when it happens at the state level. Because ultimately in America, the elections happen at the state level. It's usually the Secretary of State within an individual state that administers those elections. And then on a local level, it's done on either a county basis or a precinct basis. Eventually, each state gets to do it their own way. And so you need to watch out for Republicans trying to fill these roles with their own people so that you avoid a situation where if Republicans win, the election was valid, and if Democrats win, the election was rigged. And we've already tried to warn about the tactics. I think the media did a largely great job, mainstream and independent and otherwise, saying a lot of these votes are gonna come in very slowly. We won't know on election day, especially states that do mail-in ballots and count them on a long basis are gonna take a little while. And things are just gonna be very close regardless in these states. But the other funny thing is that I tend to read polls by trends, and I tend to read like votes the same way. And it's definitely hard to do on a state by state basis. But if the Democrats have done this well and overperformed this well, and this is still in consideration, at bare minimum, it lays the groundwork for future elections. But at maximum, the Republicans are just going to be seething even more.
Yeah, which I'm here for. Honestly.
Happy, cool.
By the way, you mentioned our predictions, so just really fast. I think we both agreed that we were cautiously pessimistic, I think is the term we used. And so it turned out a little bit better than we thought, but I'm not gonna go through all of it. I've got my predictions. The only two that aren't decided, I have Katie Hobbs winning and she's currently up. I have Raphael Warnock winning and he was up in the vote, we'll find out. All the rest of them are right. Every single one. Now I make terrible predictions. If you were living in Eastern Ukraine, don't listen to my predictions earlier this year about whether Russia's gonna invade you. I make a lot of bad predictions, but so far, all of them turned out right. And it's not because of amazing like insight. I looked at the polls and stuff, and that's the way I thought it would go. But anyway, we do have one race that was not on these that could still go one of two very different ways. So let's jump into one more. Well, I'll just briefly mention Karen Bass is up in the LA mayor's race. There's still a lot of the vote to come in. LA is super slow and can't encounter their vote, but she is up. So another good day in LA.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.